Everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of Mayfield and Friends. Today I am with One Defense Iron Man from the Iron Pure clan. His name is One Pog. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is One Pog. I also go by Hobbs on Twitter. Um, I play primarily a one defense Iron Man X hardcore. Also play another account that's a hardcore Zerk that I'm rushing TOA on that I'm making a YouTube series on. Um, I basically have been playing RuneScape since I want to say 2002. It was very early, like around Halloween of 2002 in RuneScape Classic. Um, kind of quit around the removal of wilderness and free trade era. Came back a couple years after Old School was released. Um, yeah, basically, just kind of more along the lines of how do I say? Well, let me start with I never really played much Iron or had any interest in Iron Man gameplay until playing um, a restricted defense Iron Man.
hmm
It seemed like a unique experience that seemed really fun. I've been kind of sucked into it since then.
And how long have you been working on One Pogs? I know you're pretty far along.
I think it was well, so I made a one defense Iron Man hardcore. I think around July of last year, I want to say, and then died on that one pretty quickly. Just some dumb death at Lizardman Canyon didn't have the food necessary to survive tanking a bunch of the Lizardman brutes getting a Xerix talisman. But this one here, I think I started around when the last Dead Man started. So how long ago was that? That was last year, right? The last Dead Man.
I couldn't even tell you. I'm not a huge Deadman person, so I never kept up with it too quickly or too well, I guess is the word I should use.
Well, let me put it this way: it was right when Group Iron Man came out. That's about when I started the account.
Okay, okay. And you weren't part of the group Iron Man hype. You were like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna work on my own stuff."
Yeah, I wasn't super keen on playing Group Iron Man. I really just actually a friend of mine started a one defense iron, and I was like, that seems really fun. And that was something I always said. It was like if I ever started Iron Man, it'd have to be something like that, like a unique restricted build. Which yeah, it's been a lot of fun, but around probably like a year and a half, I'd say.
Okay. And when it comes to like the restricted Iron Man, you chose defense restricted. You didn't choose like an area restricted or like a level 3 or anything of that nature. What made you choose? What made one defense appealing to you?
Mostly I guess the PVM challenge aspect, still being able to do most of the things in the game, aside from obviously the areas that are quest restricted. Like I guess the biggest one would be just Vorkath, Dragon Slayer 2
Yes.
nowadays, since you can do Monkey Madness.
Yeah, and that was a very recent update. For those who don't know, for those who don't really keep up with updates, that update allowed one defense peers to get back to a patrol, so they were allowed to do Monkey Madness, which gave them Addy gloves, but you still need 13 defense to wear Addy gloves. So it didn't really give any one defense irons a gear upgrade, minus Zenites, which of course is a pretty big upgrade when you get to the range necklace. I always forget the name of it.
Anguish, yeah,
Anguish. So you get the anguish, you get the tormented bracelet, you get the suffering. Torture is kind of with how good the blood fury is. I guess you can't get blood fury either, can you?
yeah. Since I believe that's the Nature Spirit quest line. Well, the quest line that requires Nature Spirit in search and in aid of the I'm gonna pronounce it wrong. The Myarchy, the Myarchy. I always someone every time I say it, someone corrects me on it. Whichever quest line it's called.
Yes, yes, and that gives I think the minimum you can get is what like 20 defense going through that quest line.
something like that. I know Nature Spirit gives 13, and then there's like a little bit of XP that you get for defense,
Because you
and the
get
rest of them.
2600 by doing in search and in aid the Mercu. I say Mercu. It like I don't know if it matters really.
Yeah, it probably doesn't, but people like to be nitpicky.
hmm Just like everybody hates how you say like Ardong or Ardugna, whatever it is. So everybody just calls it Artie.
Yeah, we're gonna call it Artie and just not have any problems.
Not gonna upset anybody in the comment section.
Yeah, Ardugne. No, just kidding. But yeah, essentially, it just seemed like a fun way to go about it, and the fact that I guess a lot of your best in slot gear comes from like clue scrolls, and you have Elder Chaos Druids, which are another thing to go for, and I don't know, it just seemed like a unique experience. I know some people joke saying that they just didn't want to do God War, so they played a one defense, and
hmm
but yeah, it's just the PVM aspect of it is a fun challenge, and especially when it was a hardcore account, um, that was a lot of fun. Kind of going about things in kind of a scarier way, knowing that you can't really, like, let's say, do Zilliana without prayer flicking and relying on tanking. I mean, I guess you could if you just chug brews and get 1 KC per trip, but yeah, things like that. It's just an interesting challenge, which I guess um, before that, my PVM experience was pretty um, different than most, I guess. Like when I started kind of getting into PVM more, because I primarily did like bounty hunter when that was a thing. When I came back to the game in 2015, I believe it was, I made a Zerker that or a Void Ranger, right before the Void Range nerf that they uh, gave to non-elite Void, where they nerfed its accuracy and damage bonus.
hmm
Um, yeah, had a Zerker, did a little bit of bounty hunter, and my PVM. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, I'm still getting over sickness a little bit.
No, it's
But
all right.
my
Yeah, I always mute recordings whenever I cough and stuff, so they can't hear it.
perfect. What my PVM experience basically started as I made a Zerker and was like, okay, I'm gonna learn Zulrah for money so that I can fund PKing. And I learned Zulrah, and then they nerfed the Zulrah drop table. Like, awesome. And then I was PK ready, and then nerfed Void. Awesome. So I just went full Zerker, 45 defense, and then Bounty Hunter got removed. So awesome. I was basically just everything I wanted to do was taken and ripped away from me. But
Thank you,
then
Jagex.
thank you, Jagex. Appreciate it. No, just but like soon, Bounty Hunter will be back. That'll be fun. I'm really excited for that. But yeah. Aside from that, my PVM experience was basically like limited to literally Vorkath and Zulrah, very basic PVM, and then actually getting into PVM after that was going for a one prey fire cape and going for an infernal cape on the main. So it was kind of a jump there from like basic PVM to higher level PVM, which was definitely a bit of a learning curve. But it was fun to kind of just go for that big of a jump because I don't know. I feel like the game itself, when it comes to PVM mechanics, is I guess like it's basic in nature. What you're doing, you're clicking things. There's a tick system, and obviously there's more to it than that. But it's not impossible for anyone to learn, even the higher level things of the game when it comes to PVM. So
hmm
I don't know. It was an interesting way for me to kind of build up.
Absolutely. And do you see yourself going for the one defense Inferno on one pog anytime in the near future? Is that kind of planned down the road, if at all planned?
I have been going for some attempts recently. I was waiting for uh, getting ACB and Tormented Bracelet because I don't have an occult yet because I don't really feel like grinding Slayer right now. But I got the Anguish, so I was kind of just like, you know what, I'll just go for it. So been working on that. Dealing with bats seems to be like one of the biggest uh, hurdles for a limited defense account that I can see so far.
Hmm.
Um, because on a main, I mean, you solve the wave, and you pay very little mind to the bats in the wave because you can kind of just tank them, take care of them as they come. Not so much the case on a one defense. They will rip you apart if you don't take care of them quickly. Was making sure I had enough dragon darts to keep sending attempts. So I'm basically out of excuses now. I'm gonna have a Bofa. It should be fine. So I'm working on it now, which will be really nice to get out of the way once I do.
And do you see the brand new Venator bow being useful for your account, noting that you can kind of hit the bats from the side of a pillar if you trap them with the bow itself?
You know, I was thinking about situations where that would be useful. I'm not super uh I guess I don't really understand exactly how some of the bow like work the firing of the shots works when it comes to like NPCs next to one that's safe spotted, I guess. I've seen some examples, but uh, I don't know. I'm wondering if that's gonna be uh very game changing for I guess an account like mine because obviously there's like ways to do it without, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I definitely want to. I'll look into it. I am working on that boss a little bit on this account. Pretty fun. I've definitely been enjoying that new boss a bit. Uh, but yeah, we'll see. I think I might just keep going with how I'm doing it. Ooh, 77 agility. Let's go.
Grats.
Thank you. But yeah, that's a good question. I never really considered like continue going for that bow. I've heard some things about I guess before it was released about how it's going to be really good for Inferno speeds in particular, not so much first capes or casual capes, but then I guess that turns out to not be the case. That it's like super busted for Inferno speeds.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, definitely interesting. I know it's really good at BA though. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's been an outcry of all the BA clans being like, "Hey, you should make it not work here." And then it didn't it like not work in BA for a minute, and then they like made it work again after they rebuffed it. Because I think on release the bow is broken. It like didn't do what it was supposed to.
Right. It seemed like it was I guess and I'm not 100% sure everything that was changed, but it didn't uh deal damage to the other NPCs correctly how it was supposed to.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 66, and then I think 33% on the third shot of a max hit, and it was only doing like 50 and 25. So apparently like the buff made it a little bit better than people were expecting, and like I, um my thoughts on it is like I'm wondering if even though it does the double shot, even though it's the range strength and the range attack bonus are actually better than some of the higher end bows. So I'm wondering if the Vendor bow wouldn't even be better than the Bofa in some locations. Like I would say like my first thought is God Wars. Because
Right.
you already stacked when you do Zilly, you already stack Starlight and Zilly together. So you're gonna be double hitting Zilly pretty much every shot.
Right. And yeah, I think I was actually seeing an example of that and I don't know if that was with the pre-nerf or pre-buff
Mm-hmm.
or post-buff, but the one example I saw it because of I guess the high defense of Zilliana and how it rolls individually per hit. Um, it wasn't super consistent, but then again, like I mean, I guess my setup with an RCB isn't that consistent either. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it might be worth a shot. Definitely something I might want to try. But
It'll be
still
cool
gotta
to
get the.
see. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I still need like 4 more shards. It's 5 shards for the bow, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I still got 4 more to go.
It's gonna be interesting to see like what kind of things change with that bow. And I know they've talked about like newer bosses coming out, saying like it'll be better there, and right now it's not that good. And they're talking about how it's gonna be really good at some other new upcoming content. I can imagine the new content they're looking at is Desert Treasure 2 when that fully
Right.
releases. Like I imagine that that bow will probably be really good at the new four bosses there, and so we'll have to see
Yeah.
as time plays out what the new bow brings to, because of course it being accessible on a one defense iron or a limited iron account, it's one of those things. It's like, it's in your arsenal, so will it be useful? That'll be the ultimate question.
Yeah, definitely seems very niche. Going back to BA, it I have a lot of friends, or I have a couple friends that are really into BA. A good buddy of mine, he's really big into Leech BA. He sells torsos on
Hmm.
his Zerker, and I guess one of the main things, and a lot of people say, one of the biggest things was, oh, they're letting RWTers decide what does and doesn't get allowed in BA, and I think the biggest thing is the fact that even though attacker isn't the bottleneck for like speed runs, attacker is still a very complicated role in efficient BA,
Hmm.
and now that does not seem to be the case. I don't know if you've seen there's a video on Twitter I saw recently from I think he's one of the owners of one of the big BACCs. I'm not sure if it was the casual BACC or not, but basically like showing the wave 7 of a high efficient BA attacker role.
Hmm.
And usually, you have like 7-8 way swaps. You have the dins, you're switching attack styles, and um, they can get pretty complicated. But now the meta is just stack everything, shoot the bow, and even though again it doesn't make the overall rounds faster in like top efficiency BA, it just makes it less interesting, I think. And
Less complex, a
yeah,
little bit more brain dead, if you will.
yeah, you're kind of just AFKing. It looks like you switch your arrow and then you just keep shooting. Everything dies really quickly, and as long as you're using the right arrow in BA or the right attack style, everything's gonna take damage every hit. And it has like a minimum. I think it's 5 if you're level 5 attacker. I actually don't know because I usually play defender, but yeah, it just I definitely understand why they wouldn't want it to be a thing, and I don't think it's a matter of gatekeeping BA to, keep torso prices high. I think that's kind of a um
An
like a
afterthought almost.
yeah, I definitely don't think that's the main reason why people in BA don't want it. I think the people who play BA like BA and like how it is now and don't want it to be boring doing attacker role now because this meta that's been developed over so many years is now just reduced to AFK with the bow.
Absolutely, yeah. And that kind of reminds me of like my conversation with Tanner Dino on how free to play hasn't changed too much. So it kind of reminds me of that, how like the meta is ever evolving, with new discoveries and all that kind of stuff, and they kind of want to keep the methods to be kind of cool and different with that stuff, instead of just becoming more AFK, less kind of paying attention, and less valuable of knowledge, if you will.
Right, like it's nice to be able to be rewarded for like learning a complex strategy for something that's the most efficient way of doing it, and having a higher skill ceiling that will reward you for good gameplay rather than, oh, you can just get or be max efficient or be at maximum efficiency with way less effort. I feel like that definitely takes away a lot of the appeal of why people do it in the first place for enjoyment.
Yes. And like it sounds like you yourself kind of do some BA on the side here and there. Are you planning on going for the Penance Queen pet on the one defense at any point?
I'd love to. I do run BA with some friends casually. We every time like someone in our Discord needs a torso, we always just run it for them, and we have a fun time doing that. And I don't know if you saw my last video that I uploaded, the little BA section of me and my friends going for the torso on that account, but it was just a lot of fun. Someone just PK'd 25 mil in the CC. But yeah, it's a lot of fun doing it with friends and like people you actually know and being in a call with them, and it can be a pretty wonky and a weird mini game. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm not the greatest defender by any stretch of the imagination. Like I'm very basic. Like I can multi kill and about it. But yeah, I definitely enjoy playing it. Um, when I get around to it. It's not something that I go out of my way to because it's not really progressing my account in any way, but I love to have that pet because it's pretty iconic, pretty rare.
I think it is one of the rarest pets in the game, just because like BA is not really a huge mini game for many people. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not like something people like really enjoy doing for the gambles. So I know a lot of the guys who have it have paid for gambles and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah, and I was actually hearing I think it was in like it's Will's live stream. Someone saying I think like to be on rate for Penance Queen pet if you're paying for gambles is like some like 17 bill, which is
yeah,
ridiculous. Like at that point, like like what my friend does who sells torsos. He sells torsos because he was going for the BA pet and was like, well, I want to, make money doing this too. May as
absolutely.
well. And yeah, it's definitely good money to sell torsos, and it's different than just going for world record speed runs of I guess the I don't know if it's duo healer for. I actually don't know which one's like the fastest kind of category, but yeah, Leech torsos is its own like kind of speed category as well, which is interesting.
It's really interesting how deep those mini games kind of go, because I feel like with Quest speedrunning that came out and all that kind of stuff, people and Inferno speedrunning like you just talked about, and like people going for like my biggest example is Mogul Kirby, if you know who that is.
Oh yeah, definitely the
who
goat.
who does, yeah, exactly, who does all the PVM speedrunning. It's like, people find things in this game that like, this is crazy. I want to do this. Or like the guys who go for like the crazy six hour records for EHP, or day or week records. They do like a full 30 hours and all that kind of stuff. It's like people find their niche of what they enjoy, and that's kind of what makes the game so cool, because it's like, you've also got like the PvP side where everybody enjoys like the new builds and all that kind of stuff. Like new armor comes out and you're like, okay, how can we make this cool? How can we make this build make sense? And I feel like there's just so many avenues of the game that people enjoy, and it's hard to pin down being like, yeah, this is the best part, because there are so many really good parts.
Right. There's definitely a lot of I guess different how do you what was I gonna call it? Um the word is escaping me. I
Words are
can't think
hard.
of words are a little hard, I'm not gonna lie, especially an hour after waking up. But I think it's like hold on, I'm completely mixing up my sentence here. There's definitely different like cultures of the game. I want to say that's not the word I'm looking for, but I will go with that for now.
I know what you mean, though. I
Um,
know what you mean.
yeah, different like areas of the game that people are gonna enjoy, and I think that like the niche ones, like like you're saying with Tanner Dino, like you have free to play metas. Free to play metas are insane. Like some of the things that I've seen him do, I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. Like some of the free to play EHP metas are just it's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it, and I think that preserving that is important, even if it is for a very small community of people.
Hmm.
Um, obviously, like yeah, you want to make the game enjoyable for the masses as well, but I don't think that the smaller but most dedicated communities, some would argue, should be punished for that either. I think that's important to preserve because like they're obviously going this deep into it. They obviously love the game and love it for what it is, and those kind of advanced strategies and metas are um, they're rewarding to find and be able to perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's kind of get into your history on the game. You kind of mentioned you started in 2002, left kind of after Bounty Hunter. Did you play any time after Free Trade was brought back, or pre EOC, post EOC, before Old School at all, or was that kind of like your end, and then you kind of moved into Old School when that released?
I think I probably logged in twice after they removed the wilderness and free trade.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the I guess pre EOC graphical update and was like, not the game I remember, and really did not touch the game until uh yeah until about the first Dead Man is when I got back into the game. Sorry, one
Mm-hmm.
sec.
So that was
And
probably like 2016, 17.
when was the first Dead Man? Let me
That's
see.
a really good question. I honestly could not tell you.
Let me see when that came out. October 29th, 2015, the first one came out.
Okay.
That's the World 345 server. Yeah, that was like when I got back in, I was like, oh, this is really exciting. And I'm not gonna lie, actually, the very first account that I came back with, again, I my only intention was PvP. So I actually had purchased an account, and that's a bad idea. Don't purchase accounts. Um, I I had bought this Zerker that was recovered like almost instantly after buying it. So I was like, well, I learned my lesson there, and then and then after that, I bought it a Zerker to like 80 magic, and then that got banned. I was like, okay, I was asking for it. Let's play the game for real now. And then
Yeah, yeah.
after that, I was like, okay, fine, I'll make an account, I'll play it, I'll do that. And yeah, so after that, after um then I started kind of playing again. Was that was about when Dead Man came out that I started like my first actual account that I started playing again instead of just like, let's see if I can get away with botting. Um, but yeah, so around that time, around 2015 ish, and that Dead Man release was really fun. It was very hectic. You could attack people in safe areas without any warning that would pop up or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and people would just start MS, like they'd have suicide MS spears in Varrock West Bank just piling you, and then even if they can kill you before the guards kill them, then they win. So that was
Yes.
interesting. Yeah. Sorry, I kind of lost track of the original question here. You said,
Kind of just like
yeah,
your history, right, of the account. So, like you said you paid between 2002, and then you got the free trade, wilderness removal, and you were kind of dipped out, logged in a couple times, saw the graphical rework, and then Dead Man release. Originally October 2015, you came back.
yeah, and back, when I at first started the game, um, basically from 2002 to 2000, was it 2007? 2000, yeah, late 2007 is when they removed free trade, right? I think that was around the time.
I believe so. Yes.
Um, very big noob, no idea what I was doing. I actually found my original account, looked at the stats and everything that was on it. I was like, this could be done in like a week.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, like obviously, spent a lot of time just like DDSing people in Castle Wars. The little kid stuff you do play in the game, just for fun. But I did, back then, I was big fan of creating a new free to play account, getting Firebolt on it, and then just heading straight to North Varrock, multi wildy, and just firebolting people to death. And that's how I enjoyed the game back then. And kind of coming back into it, I was like nostalgic for that. I was like, I want to get back into PKing, but I don't know what PKing is like nowadays. So I consulted random Google forums, internet forums, that what's the best PK build in RuneScape 2015,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's how I came across making a Zerker at that point. But yeah, never really played much pre EOC at all. Really, I played a couple private servers around that time, but that was about it.
All right, awesome, awesome. And then kind of from the Zerker, you were like, well, I know you said you don't really have much interest in Iron Man. So what gave you the interest to start the limited defense Iron Man?
You know, um, a couple of my friends in kind of our local Discord, I guess like the Discord that I hang out in a lot is a kind of a community of people who play Super Smash Bros. Melee from my hometown that also play RuneScape,
Hmm.
and we kind of all just get together. But a lot of them were playing Iron Man. And it just seemed like fun. You know, they get their first Rune Scimitar and they're geeked out about it, and that just seemed like a lot of fun. And my grind on the main was like make money and basically, yeah, make money. And I was like, this is kind of boring. I'm having fun PKing on the main, but don't really feel like doing a whole lot else. So it was a nice way to kind of, it was interesting to kind of play the rest of the game as an Iron Man. And especially as a limited defense account, that just seemed like a lot of fun again for the different unique route that you have to take for things, and getting your best in slot is obviously it looks a lot different and can be done pretty early on, which is cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, basically, I was playing my Zerker, and then I kind of created an alt just to have like a main, like an unrestricted defense account, and then that became my main. I'd planned to max that account, and then as soon as I made a one defense iron, any intentions of maxing my main kind of went out the window.
Yeah. She's like, well, this is it now.
Yeah, that was like, wow, I would have never thought I'd be playing Iron Man 12 hours a day, but here I am.
Something about the reward of getting the items the first time, or like going to a raid and being like, well, I want this item, and then getting it 500 raids later and being like, oh my god, it was worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely a very exciting feeling to make progress on an iron. Instead of being like, well, I got this money drop, like I got the one in, like, what is the I think like the one of the only money drops I'd gotten on a main was like the skeletal visage from Vorkath,
Hmm.
which is what, like a, let me see.
It's like I think it's like a 25 mil drop these days.
Yeah, like I think it was like around 20 mil when I got it, but like you get a 1 in 5k and it's like, cool, I made 13 mil. Well, I could have made 13 mil any other way, which yeah, it's cool. You get the money, but it was definitely not as exciting to me. So it was, it's been a fun experience, like playing on an iron and having uh such a rewarding feeling for even the little things, you know.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask you about the Zerker, the TOA rush. So when the raid came out, was that something you initially thought of because of the Masori drop and of course the Osmompton's Fang, just being amazing at a lot of places and being very accessible for like a any kind of restricted iron build at this point? Or were you just kind of already thinking about that and then that raid kind of solidified it for you?
So for the Zerker, um, I kind of just wanted to play on a hardcore again because basically how I died on one pog as a hardcore was kind of jumping into TOA like a couple days after release. I had maybe done like 20 KC on the main, and it was like, I think I know what I'm doing here. And then it was right before they actually nerfed the upset stomach invocation, or not nerfed it, but they made it so that the jugs were more consistent or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and basically, how I died on one pog was at Zabak. Um, the plugin for Entity Hider with hide dead NPCs was on. Obviously, after it was made to be an allowed feature of RuneLight.
Yes.
Um, and I shot the jug at Zebak, and it disappeared from the hide dead NPCs plugin, diagonal to the rock where you hide behind, and with upset stomach on, obviously it only clears a 3x3 area, but the jug actually didn't break until a tick after it disappeared. So I had thought it was going to clear the acid behind the rock. That was not the case, and I was not really 100% paying attention and realizing what was happening. I was taking 20s, 25s every tick, and then I got hit off prey as well. And then before I knew it, I died. I was like, well, that's that, I guess. And then later on, I was just like playing normal Iron Man, doing TOA on this account, and thinking to myself, like, I really do miss playing on a hardcore,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd consider just playing an unrestricted hardcore, like no defense restriction. But I thought, you know what, maybe I'll try again with like a Zerker account build or something. And um, going for TOA was kind of just a thought of like, okay, well, let's say I did make a Zerker. What's my best in slot? What are my goals? And obviously, Missouri being 30 defense, and um, you can use everything except for the ward from TOA and how accessible it is. I was like, let's see if we could just get to TOA as soon as possible and just go for it. Obviously, like if I die, I die. It's not too much time invested into the account. So that's kind of how that idea came to be. It was more so just like wanting to play in a hardcore again. And I had initially uh, or intended to make a series on YouTube with one pog,
Mm-hmm.
but that never came to be. I had a bunch of footage from the early gameplay of it, and never got around to editing it because I had no idea how the workflow should really look like. So that never happened, and it was nice to be able to finally, um, I guess, work on an account as a YouTube series because that's something I've always wanted to do.
Yes.
So that's been interesting so far, and I've been having a lot of fun with it.
I think there's something really enjoyable about looking back at like the first video you put out and you're like, wow, I was a noob.
Yeah, it's cool seeing the progress, and it's cool sharing the progress with others too. Like I think that's probably the most enjoyable part is other people kind of following along with it. And I was actually very surprised to see, I guess, the reception the first video got. I was only expecting like maybe 100 views or so on it, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I mean it's nothing crazy, obviously. Like, but I feel like for a first video that I kind of just put together, like did a lot better than I thought it would.
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes the videos just hit the algorithm.
Yeah, sometimes they do, and I don't know how any of that works with YouTube. I very much make videos casually whenever I do, with no intentions of like trying to hit an algorithm or anything. But
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the same way I am. My most recent progress video on Mayfield, I went to bed after it was uploaded, and then I woke up to like 1,000 views and like 20 new subscribers, and I was like, well, I guess I hit the algorithm today.
yup,
It's
sometimes
never
it
happened to me before. I've never like my most viewed video is like the one I uploaded almost 3 years ago because like just been out for a long time. So people who watch like the new ones, they go back to watch the first one to kind of see where it all started.
mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, the new one already has surpassed the very first video by like a couple hundred views at this point, and it's like I don't know what happened, but it was cool to wake up and see that instantaneous gain of like people being like, okay, where's the next one? I've already had
Yeah.
people message me in game like, where's the next one? And I'm like, man, if you knew how long it took me to get clips sometimes, you'd be like, I'll see you in 6 months.
Oh, I know. It's a little bit of pressure too when people are asking you like, "Oh, when's next video? When's next video?" And also the you always hear people say that like with the YouTube algorithm, like you want to upload weekly or and I don't know how true that is or how much that affects, you
Mm-hmm.
know, how well the algorithm does for you, but there's definitely a little bit of pressure with making a video, and it does take a while. And like my last upload was over a month ago now, and obviously with spoilers if anyone was interested in watching it, but I die on my first hardcore that I make, and then this next episode is basically rebuilding the account to where I was, and then more. So that's taken me a lot of time, and then there was the holidays and being sick, losing my voice, and everything else that goes along. I was also learning a new um, editing software. I was using Sony Vegas for a while and switched over to DaVinci Resolve, but
Hmm.
yeah, a lot goes into it, and but it is like very motivating to have people seem interested in what you're creating. So
Absolutely, it's almost like a separate motivator aside from like your own goals because you're like, well, not only do I want to reach these, people want to see it happen.
yeah, and that's very exciting. It's yeah, very motivating indeed. Like to just have other people excited for you.
Because I know one day I want to get my hardcore. If it makes it that far as a hardcore to TOA, great. If it doesn't, whatever. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
maybe one day we can do some raids, especially if we're both hardcore and just kill each other on accident.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Is like I feel like TOA. Obviously, I feel like the raid is easier solo, and more manageable solo, but at the same time, like as a hardcore, it's a lot safer to at least be in a duo because in the case that you DC, your partner can tell you out.
Hmm.
So you have that kind of peace of mind where it's like, okay, if my computer just shuts off, my power goes out, I DC or something, it's not just insta death.
Yes.
um, which is a little upsetting because I mean, you could be in the lobby of the raid in DC and that's your status lost, which not entirely sure why they made it that way, but I guess I get it.
Yeah, there's gotta be some kind of risk, I guess, but with servers and all that kind of stuff, it's people always joke like, what's one of playing hardcore when the servers like barely work and there's always the outside chance of power going out on stuff. I'm like, well, you have that kind of risk in any kind of game you play a one life game mode on.
And you have, I guess, ways of preventing that too that are um, definitely a little or can feel excessive sometimes, like having a phone tether to your computer, like in case you do DC or like lose internet service,
Hmm.
you can switch over really quickly to your tethered internet from your phone and have a chance of saving yourself that way. And there's also like I've seen some people or heard of some people using like a backup power source for the computer in case their power goes out. They have like they have a little bit of time to kind of log out, get to a safe area before that
Hmm.
battery dies.
And they
Which
have a
I don't
window
do
because
that.
like your internet will go out too if your power goes out.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you have that window, that extra 5 seconds before the DC really hits to smash the teleport tab as fast as you can.
Yeah, which might be something I might consider investing in, but I'll have to see kind of how that works first. Because it would be nice to have that little peace of mind, but it was kind of a pain. Like when I was doing CG on one pog as a hardcore, like, oh, gotta set up my phone tether first, make sure like, and I know some people use an AHK script to like they'll press a key combination and it automatically clicks to that icon on their desktop to switch to their tethered internet, which is probably a smart idea to save you even a couple seconds if needed.
Hmm.
That can make the difference. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because
a lot of
human
stress.
error is like part of the factor too.
Right, if you're freaking out, oh my god, I just DC'd. Oh, where's my? Oh no, I'm dead. Yeah,
Exactly.
that could get messy really quick.
So all that being said, it seems like you've got kind of a few things you're working on. So with the hardcore, TOA basically is your TOA rush, and then so on one pog, what is your current big goal on that? You kind of kill the new boss, or what's the big goal right now?
I guess the big goal, one of the ones I have in mind right now is going for a solo Fang kit, um, which I have the yellow gem, which thankfully I have that. Some people go really dry on that, but now that I actually have a Fang and I'm not using an abyssal dagger in the raid, it definitely seems more doable.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know if any other. um, Iron One Defs have soloed the Fang kit yet. I'm sure some of them have gotten it in groups, but I've been really enjoying kind of trying to push the limits of a one def in TOA as an Iron. Um, it's just been interesting and pretty fun doing that. But uh, aside from that, going for the Fang kit, obviously the Infernal Cape. I'm trying to get all my Zenites, which over 5 times the rate, and just got my first one. So hopefully the next three aren't gonna take too long. But
Yeah, I saw your didn't you like 1500 for the first one?
yeah, let me actually see my log here. What am I at on those? I'm at 1563. I think I got my first one like 1522 or something.
Oh man,
Um,
that's just miserable.
yeah, I mean, I'm using like the alt method for like most of it, where you kind of have your main tanking the gorillas and you kind of just hit them,
Hmm.
which is chill, but it can be kind of annoying to play two accounts in that way, where it's like, oh, I got to click to my other account to dodge this rock real quick, and then click back on this account. And I usually am playing more than one account, but I really don't like to play more than one account at once.
Hmm.
I just kind of feel like because I can, I might as well. But
Yes.
I definitely prefer to just play one account, so I'll go kill gorillas the normal way, or have been a lot more lately. And yeah, as long as it's like AFK enough, I don't mind playing more than one account, but I definitely just enjoy solo playing more.
And then, see, I've always been like a multi-account kind of person
Mm-hmm.
because like there are always I'm always doing something that is like AFK enough where I can do something else.
Yeah, and it's hard not to feel like, well, I may as well, because I
Hmm.
can.
Exactly, especially if you like have other things you want to do. Because like with you with the one defense and then the new hardcore because you want to play hardcore, and then me with like working on maxing the level 3 UIM. So I'm like, well, there are things I'm doing that are pretty chill. So maybe I'll work on my own limited defense hardcore and see where I go on that.
Yeah, definitely. And then aside from that, like I mentioned the Fang Kit, Infernal Cape. I also do want to, um, I guess, just complete all my best in slot and get everything that I can for Chambers. Like Chambers is probably going to be like the last grind I do after getting like ZCB, Infernal Cape, all my Zenites done. And aside from that, I can't really think of many other things I still need to go for.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of the end game for my account. There is just working towards best in slot unlocks. Trying to think what else I really need besides that. I mean, obviously, like I got the Elder Chaos robes early on, which surprisingly only got TB'd once, and the guy who TB'd me splashed like 6 entangles. He was solo, and I got away thankfully. But um, yeah, aside from that, I also do want to complete, or maybe not complete, but I at least want to get all the vestment robes on one pog.
Hmm.
Um, but I do like doing clue scrolls; they're a lot of fun. So that's also another kind of side goal, is possibly completing easy and medium logs.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick, especially on like the one defense iron. Because then you got your choices of fashion and your choices of vestment robes, whatever you want to do.
Oh yeah, and that's what it's all about. I love that you can they have all these different colors of vestment robes. You can like one of my favorite parts of playing a one def iron is like all the color choices, all these halos I got. It's so cool.
You
But
got
yeah,
many options.
yeah, and I guess that's another thing too, is completing the LMS log. Like I want to go for the 1K wins cape. Um, definitely. I think I'm at like 202 wins right now, which we're getting there. I feel like I play LMS on so many different accounts that like they're kind of distributed. I think there's probably like 600-ish wins across all my accounts right now,
Damn.
but we're working on it. I feel like as long as I keep sticking to playing LMS on this account, eventually we'll get it. But
Absolutely. And one thing we've kind of brushed on a little bit is talking about like what motivates you to keep going, whether it be the YouTube or your personal goals. So for you, what keeps you, logging in and enjoying the game and doing what you want to do every single day?
can't quit, bro. I mean, I can't even get away from it. Just kidding. Really, it's like just the little things, like a obviously, like we have our end game goals. Like I want to have every piece of best in slot gear. I want to max my account. Um, I feel like it's like the goals along the way to making that progress is really what excites me.
Hmm.
And like keeping those like shorter term goals in sight. Um, like okay, I'm working directly towards like this next step, and um, that's I feel like for a lot of people probably what keeps them interested in not burning out too, is just having those shorter term goals in mind. Because if you're just looking towards like the very end and then everything in between is like just the kind of what's in the way, I feel like that can get exhausting to think about. But um that I really just enjoy, uh primarily getting better at the game. And I know it might sound silly, but also getting better at like clicking in the game for some reason. Like I really enjoy like getting better at using a mouse, which I guess sounds funny when you say it out loud, but
No, no, I totally get it because like I'm a big Counter Strike person,
uh-huh.
and I remember just feeling like, oh, speaking of getting better with a mouse, I think my mouse just died. That's
Uh-oh.
better plug it in.
Yeah, that's a scary thing about using a wire. I use a wireless mouse too, and like my biggest fear is not seeing the pop-up that my mouse is dying and then being like on a hardcore doing something dangerous and the mouse is just gone. I do have a backup mouse on the side just in case that happens, but
You're back up. You got back up everything. You're ready.
yeah, definitely like I don't want to be sorry that I didn't.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I like just trying to get better at the game. I feel like I have gotten a lot better at the game in the past couple years of playing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and especially because I feel like one of the biggest things that I enjoy is PvP, and just seeing like how high the skill ceiling is in PvP is really interesting to me, and furthering my skills to get closer to that skill ceiling is a lot of fun for me. I feel like it's
Absolutely.
all very similar to because I played a lot of Super Smash Bros. Melee, and competitively I'd play that, go to tournaments, and that game has a very high skill ceiling as well. I don't know if you've really seen any of kind of like
Yes.
high
Yes.
level Smash Bros. Melee.
I am a fan of watching it because it was one of the games I loved as a kid. And actually, you're the third person I've had on on here who's talked about it.
That's so funny. There's this overlap with old school RuneScape and Smash Bros. Melee that I see all the time, and it's really funny.
I think there's a few games that overlap really hard because in the Counter Strike community, there's quite a few people who also play old school RuneScape, or like anybody who just plays like a lot of MMOs, like WoW or any other big MMOs. I feel like a lot of them are like, yeah, I play RuneScape here and there too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's kind of funny to see the overlap between like the game we play all the time and then like other people who like maybe play another game very competitively but play this game casually.
Right. It's yeah, and I feel like also the fact that they're are released around the same time too.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
um, and then I guess like where I was going with that was I really enjoyed like I practiced that game a lot when I played it. I practiced all my tech skill playing Fox, a very technical character. And it was just really enjoying, or I really enjoyed seeing just kind of my technical abilities improve and get cleaner and do things that I felt were impossible before, and then kind of getting closer and closer until I'm getting it down consistently and like, wow, that's really cool. I don't know. I never really uh, thought I'd be able to do that, or when it felt impossible before. And I feel like that's something similar you can do in old school RuneScape in some aspects, is just getting closer and closer to a skill ceiling that you may not hit, but it's nice to see yourself improve and get closer to it.
No, absolutely. I'm a tech manip skiller. I very much enjoy like tech manipulation and all that kind of stuff. And I remember like first trying to learn some of it, I was like, this is too hard. And now
Yeah.
like I really enjoy like two tick fishing. I really enjoy like three tick 4G with granite. I really enjoy like I'm gonna learn the chins soon. That's
Mm-hmm.
something I want to learn for the competition I'm doing right now. And it's like there's like you said, there's a skill ceiling, and you may not never hit it, but there's always that like progression system.
Yeah, and it's always fun to see yourself improve and be better than you were before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the main thing that really keeps me motivated. Is there's always something to get better at. There's always something to grind, and obviously there's probably some accounts so late in the game that they kind of feel like they've done everything, which is nice that the collection log is now a thing because that gives them like a um just another thing to grind, I guess, and it's a very satisfying thing for some people to see their logs go green, and
Hmm.
yeah, always something to do.
I think about like Hey Jace and Casey and like some of the other like 200 mil guys who like transitioned to collection log after that came out, and they're like, well, I already put 14,000 hours in this game. What's another 20, 30,000?
Exactly. Right, why not? May as well. Like, your time's not wasted as long as you're enjoying it.
Exactly. And I think that is a really good tie-in to another question I have for you, and that comes with like your real life obligation compared to your obligation, like your own mental obligation that you want to play the game. How do you kind of balance your work-life balance and everything outside of playing the game?
Well, fortunately I work from home. I have been working from home since um kind of lockdown quarantine happened.
Hmm.
And I was teaching music at the time, which no longer am doing because it's kind of hard to find students with how expensive everything is nowadays. Parents don't want to have their kids going taking music lessons when they're $50 an hour or whatever.
Yeah,
But
it can get very expensive. Absolutely.
yeah, but since I've been working from home, I feel like I'm pretty good at multitasking, so it's very much able to just kind of do more AFK grinds while I'm at work. Um, and I do spend a lot of time on RuneScape because uh, I'm kind of in an area too where I moved recently and don't really know a whole lot of people, so not really being asked to go anywhere very often. So I'm like, well, may as well just hang out at home and do what I like doing. And um, it really just it's not hard for me to spend a lot of time in the game. I feel like I could probably balance it a little better, but I do what I need to. I take care of the things I need to, and really, I just don't really uh have much else I want to do with my time aside from progressing my account or working on my YouTube series with the account, and
And you
yeah,
know
pretty
what?
much that.
Nothing wrong with that. People, everybody
Yeah.
enjoys different things. Like, I'm sure you, if I know you work from home a lot, but I'm sure like you occasionally maybe have meetings with coworkers, whatever, via Teams, Zoom, whatever you guys may use, and people talk about like what they do in their free time, and you're like, that sounds cool, but you know what sounds
Yeah.
cooler?
Yeah, playing RuneScape. But like I feel like lately too I've been kind of really into it. Like I do obviously like I play music on the side and I was playing Smash Bros for a while, but um kind of fell out of practice with Smash Bros since for a while all tournaments were online, and that can be kind of a pain to play online with such a technical game and a little bit of lag. It just messes you up and it's not fun.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, but really, I just feel like that's where my focuses have been. I've been on RuneScape and not really much elsewhere. But I feel like there's probably going to be a point in the future where I slow down a little bit with account progression and maybe work on music again. But I feel like for now, I'm very much a person that hyper focuses on one thing, and um, that thing just happens to be RuneScape right now, and it has been for past couple of years.
Awesome. And did you want to talk a little bit about like what instruments or what kind of music you do on the side?
I mostly play guitar. I've played guitar for the past, I want to say, like 15 years.
Wow, it's a
Um,
long time.
yeah, it's been a while. Like, and that was something like when I was a kid, like I hyper focused in that. I just played guitar every single day. When I got home from school, that's all I wanted to do. It's all I was thinking about when I was in school, and it's the only thing that mattered to me at the time. It was just playing music, playing guitar. Played a lot of like metal. I was really into metal back as a kid, and I feel like my music tastes are definitely a bit more varied nowadays. Like I listen to a lot of electronic, listen to a lot of like hip hop, other, just really whatever comes on. Like a lot of music that comes on people's streams. I'm like, that's cool. Listen to that. Um, but yeah, music's always been a big part of my life too, which it's definitely something like I want to get back into deeper eventually, but
Hmm.
for another time. For another time.
If you whenever like that comes up, do you have like a genre you want to like really dive into, or you kind of just kind of whatever comes to me?
Honestly, I really like playing classical music on guitar. Um, I started playing like a nylon string acoustic for a while, which hearing just like some of the really insanely technical classical musicians, like that just seems so cool to me. How like technical some of these musicians are with their music, and that's always something that's appealed to me with it.
Hmm.
Um, so probably kind of around that genre of like classical. I do also like technical death metal kind of stuff, which is a little extreme for a lot of people. It's like not music you put on in your stream or anything, but
Hmm.
definitely just the technical aspect of it is really interesting to me and a lot of fun to play.
I no, I only ask because I'm in a post hardcore band. I have friends who play. Like I have a friend who moved across the country. He plays in like a tech death band. They play like the UK Death Fest and stuff like that. And
Oh, very cool.
so
That's
I'm
yeah.
very familiar with all that kind of stuff. And it's funny because like when I do like my occasional once a month stream, I very often will put on like just weird shit.
Uh-huh.
But I will say I have been like really into like as much as funny as it is, funk. So it's like
Oh, that's cool.
I've been really into like listening to that when I'm like just playing the game. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but otherwise I personally like I've always kind of been into like metal hardcore, post hardcore, all the different subgenres, but it's kind of
Mhm.
gotten more refined into like there are specific bands now I like, and I can't just do the whole genre because it gets very repetitive.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the one thing I always say is like I feel like my like one of my favorite genres is like tech death, and I very I like very few tech death bands,
Hmm.
but I do like the genre a lot. Um, so I definitely get that, and I feel like I'm very much not picky about the genre of music nowadays. I'll just kind of listen to whatever. But if it comes to choosing like what to play, um, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah,
Basically,
I
but you probably just become a little bit more choosy when it becomes what you want to play instead of listen to.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
So if you were to pick like one tech death band, what would that be? Just for if anybody was curious.
Um, my probably my favorite that has been a favorite for a while is the band Necrophagist.
Yep, yep. I've heard
If
of
you've
them.
heard
Never
of it,
listened to them, but I've heard of them.
yeah, they're I think they're like early 2000s, late 90s, mid 90s kind of tech death band that they always just I felt like they were never technical for the sake of being technical. They were it's all very musical in what they compose, but it just happens to be really technical too. which I think is really cool. And it doesn't sound forced or like it's trying to be like show offy in its technicality, which I really much enjoy. And that's the thing, like I like a lot of tech death bands, but I feel like a lot of it sounds like it's technical for the sake of being technical, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, they're kind of like who can play the coolest riff for the longest amount
Right.
of time.
Who can have the highest, I was gonna say APM, BPM, like that's almost what it seems like. It's like they're going for like an APM, right? It's like how many notes can I play the fastest in the shortest amount of time? But
Exactly, exactly.
yeah, kind of a funny thing there. But
So I got a couple more for you. First one kind of delves back into what we were saying earlier when it came to the real life obligations. You kind of mentioned in the future you think you might slow down. So what do you see? Like what do you see when it comes to like the future of RuneScape, your future RuneScape, and like are there any updates that are coming up that you're like really excited for, or anything in the past that's come out? Maybe besides Monkey Madness update, like anything in the past and future you're looking forward to?
um, let me think. I mean, I know we have that the new spell book, or not the spell, new prayer book coming out. That'll be interesting to see. However, that ends up going, that could be a really um interesting thing to get into when if it has anything to do with PVM and like kind of changing how you go about PVMing.
Hmm.
But I think it's going to be like more of a skiller thing, but I'm not sure. But I guess the biggest thing really is Bounty Hunter coming out. Um, if there are like cosmetic unlocks and if there are like I don't know things to actually obtain that through Bounty Hunter that are like exclusive through Bounty Hunter. That's something I really want to go for on one pog, which I know is going to be a little rough because I kind of strayed away from the traditional build on a one def of like, you know, 55 prayer, 45 prayer, and like 82, I guess 82 attack now since Fang, which is weird. That's kind of a side tangent. Why 82? Like, why 82? I don't know.
It's a really weird number, but I think they're trying to refrain from going too high at this point.
Yeah,
That's kind of
that
my
makes
my
sense.
take on it.
Yeah, like I guess he wouldn't want to skip right to 85, but I don't know, it's 82 is just an ugly number. So I ended up going like I'm going for 99 attack anyways, but that
Hmm.
puts you in the bracket of um maxed Zerks and obviously some lower level mid level builds. So it's going to be a little brutal doing bounty hunter on this account with one defense. But I think it'll be fun to go about that and you know, go for what it has to offer if it does have anything to offer. Like, I hope it's not a repeat of PvP Arena. I don't know if you know the state of that right now.
People just like farm it for imbues because it's super fast, and they don't really
Yeah.
they don't really like participate in it. It just kind of like you get guys who just AFK in there because it doesn't matter if you win or lose. The
Y-
points is like very very minimal of a difference.
Yup. And kind of the PvP Arena experience right now is you sign up for a fight or you queue up and you have a notification that, oh, your fight's ready, hop worlds. Half the time, if not most of the time, and I think it's a bug. I don't think it's people not showing up, but it will queue you up with like nobody. So you're sitting there, you hopped worlds, you stopped what you were doing, and nobody shows up. So that's most of the times that you'll queue up, and then, like you said, the rest of it is people just locator orbing down to 1 HP and then waiting for you to kill them, or they just leave immediately. Regardless, they get their points. You get points too, but that was not an enjoyable experience. And obviously there's no other rewards besides the imbues and the blighted scroll or blighted surge sacks. So hopefully again bounty hunter doesn't end up being like a repeat of that. I hope there's actually things like ornament kits, whatever, even if it's cosmetic to obtain.
Hmm.
That'll be a lot of fun.
I
But
think and I think that's one thing they did really well with Last Man Standing is like
mm-hmm,
having like the alternative halos, the decorative armor, or the dead man chest and stuff like that for the armors, and It's funny that even I don't think they realized how much the Swift Blade would impact PPM in general.
Oh yeah.
So it's funny to see like some of the stuff that comes from those actually being really useful because is it I think Swiftblade is really good for like Tob and Nightmare.
Yeah. I think it's useful. I don't know if you use Swiftblade or like ham joint in Nightmare or what you use. I think you could even use a what is it called, the Goblin paint cannon now or something, which don't know why they changed that name, but from the RPG event RPG or whatever it was
Yeah,
before. But yeah, it is cool, and like just the fact that there's something to work towards. Is the Dead Man armor. I have that now. It looks really cool. I have all the halos. Those are very fun to have and just look really nice.
especially in a one
Um,
defense is like that's like utility for you as well.
it's so nice. That's like another thing I love about one defense is just all the it really makes little difference what you wear in terms of gear. So it is nice to be able to kind of pick and choose whatever you're feeling like. Um,
Plus, then you've
but
got
yeah,
like the option to go for like some of the elite clue uniques, like the Ranger's Tunic and the Fremy Kilt, are both like really good for your account. So it's like, do I want to like juggle elites and like grind for those?
oh yeah, juggling elites is a be fun, uh, especially if you're doing the where you have an elite and then you um, complete a raid, you drop your elite and then open the reward chest outside of the raid,
Mm-hmm.
and you can have two of them. And then if you complete that one elite, then the next elite that you already have in your inventory only takes one step to complete.
Oh,
So
that's
that's always,
nice.
yeah, that's really fun if you can. Sometimes it ends up being where it's a step where, like, if you have those two elite clues in your inventory and you have to kill like an NPC that drops the next elite, you can't pick that one up because you already have one in your inventory, so you have to kind of juggle them at that point. But when it
Yeah.
does work out and you can complete it, it's so nice to just get a two caskets for one, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never seen that done before, so that's really cool. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, really interesting. I think that's been a thing since Chambers. Basically, when if the reward chest like lets you view its contents without retrieving them, you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
that is very interesting.
yeah, I definitely am going for the Ranger's tunic still, which surprisingly actually is a pretty big DPS increase for range relative to like most upgrades that a one def gets
Mm-hmm.
in terms of armor. Like what's the range bonus on that? The tunic compared to let me see real quick. Yeah, plus 15 range as opposed to like plus 2 from a leather body.
Yeah,
It's
that is huge.
yeah, definitely significant compared to like most upgrades for a one def.
And did the God D'hide change for the pants and the amps being made one defense? Did that change your guys' like accounts at all, or was that kind of minuscule because it only gives the prayer bonus and like a little bit more defense?
Yeah, it was more of a thing like where um we weren't really losing out on anything with the black d'hide nerf because like obviously you weren't able to wear them before. You could only wear the black d'hide, and then they nerf it. It's like, okay, well, this is just a straight nerf to the account, but not being able to like still have those stats and then plus that prayer bonus with the god d'hide is nice. And the best part, you have colors to choose from. It's so cool. I just love have colors. It's so good. So
Big
good.
fashion man one pog.
Big fashion. Yeah, I'm all about the one def fashion scape. It's so nice. I love it. I used to do like a little bit of World 330 house hosting on my main too, and I'd always like try to get a good little fashion scape setup going on and practice AGSG mauling the combat dummy while people are using bones on the altar. A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So the last thing I have for you, um, basically, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you like still see yourself playing the game? Do you kind of see yourself moving on, doing something else, or are you kind of hard focused on being like, I want to be at this point in the game. Maybe not
I
five. I
feel
guess 3 years is probably a better metric.
honestly, either 3 or 5 years, I still see myself probably doing the same thing. Um, I feel like I just enjoy the game no matter really what I'm doing. So
Hmm.
there's always something I'm gonna want to do, and obviously a kind of person who ends up making new accounts every so often. Like I feel like I'm always gonna find myself in the old progressing an account, having goals for that account, repeat, and um, so I really honestly until the game completely dies out, I feel like I'm going to be playing for. I can't really see myself like quitting the game for any reason right now, unless they really just change things in a way that I am not a fan of, which I don't see happening. I feel like they're pretty good about like preserving the game for what it is.
Hmm. Do you see the new skill impacting that at all, or are you kind of excited for what may come?
Um, you know, Obviously the idea of training a new skill um isn't the most exciting thing for me. I'm not like a huge skiller when it comes to playing the game. Like I kind of just skill to get it out of the way.
Hmm.
But if it's I wouldn't be I didn't vote no. I'll say that. I didn't vote no for the new skill. Um I would like to see something that does add like uh it just adds to the game, I guess, because it has been, the same number of skills for the past however long now since the
Be
game was released.
10 years this year.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. So I'll be excited for it, definitely. Obviously, it's going to have something to offer. If it's, honestly, I wouldn't even be too upset if it like completely changed the early game of an account because sometimes that's kind of fun to like if you have a new account that you're starting and your early game is not the exact same thing over again. That's kind of an exciting experience to see like what the new early game is like with some updates.
I think Guardians
um
of the Rift was like my most recent update I could think of that really changed the early game for irons.
oh yeah.
Because now you could just do. Because I did 77 there on the hardcore, and I had enough runes for like MTA, Alk, whatever I wanted. Alk the whole time I was doing agility to get passive magic XP. Like, I'm gonna have enough runes to like do Barrage Slayer. It's like I have runes for like everything now.
Yeah, that's a huge I think that is a really enjoyable change for sure. I'm not the biggest fan of early rune crafting. I'll do it. Uh I did a little bit of like a lava rune crafting for a bit, and I actually did kind of enjoy it. Um,
Hmm.
Surprisingly, I feel like that's not something I typically enjoy, but it was fun just like trying to hit that efficient XP rate and be quick in the bank, telling out, and just having that kind of flow being consistent. But it is really nice to just be able to hop into the group mini game, chat with all the people there, and yeah, it was a huge change for early game, especially Iron Man. But even just regular accounts of training rune crafting who didn't want to do it the traditional way, which um, I don't actually. Is it how much better is it than I guess traditional rune crafting methods? Is it faster XP than like the
It
other
it gets you there
methods?
faster because if you wanted to do early rune crafting on an iron or a hardcore UIM, you had to go collect the pure S first, and then you could do it on an altar, or you could do the RCS library, which is what I did on my level 3 UIM.
Hmm.
And that is about 30K an hour once you get to the higher levels, but earlier on it's very slow. And obviously with no staminas, it makes it a lot harder. So it just made basically it made it so you could do early game rune crafting whenever you want instead of having to wait for like maybe getting to Zora to get pure S or leeching raids to get pure S or finishing Sins of the Father to mine day out. Like
Oh yeah,
So it's like it kind of changed how easy it was to make it to that level. Because obviously, if you have the patience to do library, um, then it wasn't you could do it pretty early as well. But if you didn't have that and you needed the S to do it, or in general, most people don't like rune crafting in general the normal way.
Hmm.
So getting to the point where you can AFK Zaya, where most people are like, okay, this is fine now. It was a very insurmountable mountain for many people I know of.
Oh yeah.
Even mains, like even main accounts, I have like friends who are mains who still only have like 60 rune crafting, and here I am on
Yeah.
my level 3 with like 42 mil, and then now I already have 81 on my hardcore. It's like
Dang.
it's like it's my favorite skill, because of the fact that like it's one of the skills that like no matter how many updates it gets, like the pace really never changes. It's pretty much
Yeah.
always, especially in an iron, like you really can never get past like 80 to 100k an hour, because even with an iron doing ZMI day alt with the outfit, I think that's like 85 to 100k depending on how good you are.
Okay, that makes sense then.
So it's like
Um,
I don't know, and I've always thought I'm not really a huge shopscape person,
yeah,
so making all my own runes for me has always been kind of a it kind of adds to the Iron Man effect.
that is a really nice change, honestly. That considering that now it's you have all those runes from actually doing something engaging rather than hop worlds, buy 50 open pack, rinse repeat, or buy 250 of the rune, and that not the most enjoyable part of Iron Man mode. So I'm glad to have an alternative for that for sure. Which
Yes.
I'm a big fan of alternatives to Shopscape for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's like, why a lot of people didn't like Giants Foundry, because they were like, well, it's just not very creative. And I'm like, well, it kind of changed. You still have to go buy ores from Blast Furnace if you're not going to AFK Motherload Mine.
Mhm.
So it's like there's a few things that kind of add to Shopscape and a few things that really make it no longer needed. Because obviously, if you have a Scythe and a Sang, you're gonna go through Blood Runes like it's nobody's business. You're gonna have to buy them
Yeah.
unless you can AFK like all day at work and then come home and use the runes you've created. And I think the outfit also helps with that, because it's like you're creating much more than you used to.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that plus the blood essence that you get in enormous quantities from TOA as well.
yeah, I was surprised
Um,
they added that to TOA. I figured that would be like a next only drop forever.
yeah, and so that's definitely a nice change to have that. And it's kind of along the same theme of that too. Having dragon bolts from the new boss is so nice. Like I can't even use them yet on one paw because I don't even have ACB yet.
Hmm.
But being able to just like grind a boss that isn't next and getting dragon bolts from because like before next you just couldn't even get dragon bolts because of it being only from Vorkath,
Yes.
which yeah, really nice to get that from, which might not make the biggest difference for some accounts, but on a one def where those are your only two options, very exciting.
And it surprises me that they didn't make dragon bolts also come from D imps, because that's where you get dragon darts and arrows from as well.
True, true.
So it surprises me that they didn't like pull an update to that drop table for that as well. Maybe they will in the future. I don't know. Maybe some JMod listens to these and he's like, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I feel like especially nowadays, like um, nothing's really out of the question when it comes to like changing things at this point. I feel like they were very much um, kind of on the theme of preserving things for what they were,
Hmm.
but I think nowadays things are more open to change in any area of the game, just because of how much has already changed. And
Yeah, and I mean, I look at like how weapons changed to like different attack tiers, and how different things have just changed. Like the blowpipe nerf, like how many years after it was released,
right,
and then Zulrah got that nerf like 2 years after release, and like I envision the Phantom Muspa getting a nerf because of how many herbs and shit it drops.
Yeah, it drops a lot. I'm very much not surprised that it already did get a nerf like a day after release.
Oh, did it
Um,
already?
yeah, it had a. I think it was just kind of the quantities of the drops that were changed, but it's still a decent amount that you get. It's not. I mean, it was a pretty significant change to the quantity of like the herbs you'd get, but it's still a lot that you get from them, and it's accessible. I know a lot of Reddit doesn't, see it that way, but uh, it's accessible for sure. Uh, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot to be able to do it, and with how much it drops for how many people can do it, I would not be surprised to see it nerfed again.
Mm-hmm. It's almost
But
like a more accessible Vorkath in a sense, or even some. I wouldn't even say more accessible Zulrah because Zulrah's already pretty accessible because it's not locked behind like any massive quests. Because all you have to do is what
uh,
regicide to get to it.
right,
Whereas this one is locked behind quite a few like mid to end game quests because you have to do what like all of the troll quests and then like you have to do the general shadow the desert treasure mini quest as well and a lot of stuff.
right. I feel like any account that's like past the point of getting Barrow's gloves is probably pretty close to those requirements.
Yes, and then obviously on an iron, Bear's gloves is unless you're like a limited, obviously one defense account, then Bear's gloves is like one of the first things you kind of rush for.
Yeah, so you're probably pretty close already at that point. And like if you have a rune crossbow and like um you know obviously we don't know exactly what its stats are yet. So I don't know what like the best entry level gear setup would be if you're just like maining the rune crossbow or using like Ivan's blast or a trident as well, but um yeah, it really doesn't take a whole lot to get there.
I'm sure we'll find out shortly by when February comes.
Yeah, I think they said like next game update they'd be releasing the stats um or allowing stat spy.
Hmm.
But yeah, I could definitely see it getting nerfed again. Which, it does put a little bit of when you have that in mind. Like that was another thing with TOA, like knowing the Fang's probably going to get nerfed, drop rates are probably going to get nerfed. There's a little bit of pressure to do nothing but that content to get the most out of it before it does get nerfed, which I'm not a huge fan of. Um, I felt that way with a while. I was like, I better get this Fang on one pog before they either change drop rates or nerf it or whatever they're gonna do. I had a feeling they were gonna. Um,
Absolutely.
and yeah, again, not a huge fan of feeling like locked to an account for or locked to a piece of content for that reason. Um, but that's just kind of the way it is sometimes.
Hmm.
Which and then I ended up not getting the Fang until like over 250 KC, and then I got back to back. But uh, I'll take it. I got the Fang. I'm happy.
Finally achieved.
Finally, we're free. Kidding, we're back in there.
We're never free.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
until Shadow.
yeah. Once I get that, that'd be nice. I mean, like that was it was a little upsetting because like the drops I did get on one pog doing TOA was like um the first drop was the ward, which was one can't use it, two not even a whole lot of money. So I was like, oh, that's fine, I guess
Hmm.
it's a bond. Um, and then on the very first solo expert that I completed on one pog, I got the Missouri body, which was a good amount of money. It was like 250 mil I sold it for at the time. I just immediately dropped it over the main, but um wish I'd put a bank placeholder in for it before I did because I did that with the ward,
Hmm.
but I missed that opportunity.
I'm sure you'll get another Missouri body before you get the staff.
I'll say that. I don't want another Missouri body. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but probably.
All right. Do you have any final questions for me or anything follow up to say?
Um yeah, I was actually gonna ask you about your hardcore. What are your kind of plans for that? Like where are you at right now at your hardcore and what are your plans for it in the future? Because always fun to see like people are up to on their hardcores.
So right now, I am rune crafting until I max Mayfield. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for many of people who have been watching my channel for a long time, they'll know that Mayfield is the kind of make videos on. When I finish maxing Mayfield, I will be doing 2 rune crafting on Mayfield. And so I'll have a lot of AFK time. That's about 3 to 4,000 hours of AFK time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I will be. I think I want to do a lot of TOA, just like you. I think that even if it dies, I'm going to keep playing it because I'm going to be doing a lot of collection logging on it as well.
Yeah.
So I want to do like some of the shitty grinds like Castle Wars or Trouble Brewing. Maybe even go for some Inquisitor pieces. But I think I'm more focused on getting Masori because obviously for range it's best in slot, whereas for melee I can always get Torso and Frem Kilt and
Mm-hmm.
Manacles or Rune Boots, and like that's kind of already good enough for most things.
Yeah.
Because Inquisitor isn't like a hard need, but it would be really cool to have it. Um, so a lot of short term right now is because even I don't have Bear's Gloves yet, and I have 241 quest points. I just
What are?
uh I just don't want to get 70 cooking.
Oh yeah, understandable. Understandable.
I'm just lazy. But otherwise I have everything needed. I haven't even done Desert Treasure yet because I never got magic logs.
Oh my
Um,
god. Yeah.
so once I finish rune crafting, it'll probably be AFK wood cutting from me until I can get to magic logs, so I can do that quest when I'm all done, and then AFK fishing, so I can do I want to get the big swordfish out of the way as well as getting 70 cooking done. So like a lot of AFK goals on the account right now to set me up for when I start playing it a lot, because I probably realistically won't get started really playing it until the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like that's a good way to go about it. Sometimes just have like um
A good foundation.
yeah, a really good foundation, just having a lot of things unlocked and
And I think
then
having
going
like
forth.
99 rune crafting right away, I'll have plenty of bloods and souls. I'm gonna sell some bloods for probably like 40 mil, and then I'll keep the rest for Barrage Slayer. And then if I ever do Tob and I get one of those weapons, and I'll probably do 97 to 99 at souls. So I have enough soul runes for anything I need for a long time. So that's what, like 2.3 mil XP just doing soul runes. So that's quite a bit of experience.
Yeah, that'll probably last you for a while for so now you're gonna if you get a shadow, like I've never actually used the shadow, so I don't know how quickly that goes through soul runes, but
Mm-hmm.
like that's the new blood rune situation now for a
Yes.
lot
And
of
then
people.
of course with 99 RC that means double deaths.
Mm-hmm.
So if I ever want to like go back to Guardians of the Rift for the pet, which I will, um, that will just mean double deaths while I'm doing that mini game for the pet, and then it'll be at that point, I'll have pretty much any amount of runes I'll ever need. Ideally,
Yeah,
I say that, and then I'll probably like go through them all doing Barrage Slayer.
true. Yeah, it goes a lot quicker than you think sometimes.
Yes, and then so I guess like short term, get the foundation set up to get to PVM. Long term, it'd be cool to get like 99 herb, and then get pretty much do all the raids. My end goal is to be able to do all 3 raids comfortably, because in
Mm-hmm.
my experience, I've done 1 Tob entry, I've done like 5 Chambers of Zarek without leeching, and I've done 1 TOA entry, and that's like the extent of my raid knowledge.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of Tob, not a whole lot. It's definitely something I want to keep doing, but I feel like finding a team can just be difficult sometimes, especially if you don't know like a whole lot of people who are very experienced in Tob, and it's just like you and two buddies learning it and failing and getting frustrated at each other.
And I
Which
have the added advantage of my roommate is a big PVMer. He just got his Infernal Cape for the first time. He does like a lot of necks. So he like right now he's been pretty spoon there. He's pretty rich at this point. So he like is his next goal is to do like learn solo chambers and just do Tob in general because he loves TOA. He's done a ton of it. He's actually seen and had two shadow splits.
Oh wow.
Um, so yeah, so I already have somebody like that I see on a daily basis that can kind of help me get through some of those raids. Like obviously doing duo chambers with him, and then when we get to Tob, I have another friend who does Tob. So it's like that's the three man right there. Or we have other friends who can come if we want to do five. And then with TOA, I have him and then some other friends who have done many TOA. So I have friends who do PVM, just like kind of you've got friends who do your barbarian assault and other PVM content that you can probably go have fun with. So it'll be nice to have an account that I can go do that with them because I obviously I've played the level 3 for a very long time and my PVM knowledge the last when Group Iron Man came out, I did a lot of CG. So Corrupted Gauntlet is like the most PVM, like the most late game PVM I ever got to.
Yeah, I feel like CG is really good for kind of off tangent, but a lot of people learning PVM. I feel like it's uh, at least some of my friends who are like much newer to the game and they're finally getting to CG on their Iron Men.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like a good friend of mine who's there right now, um, again hasn't really played the game before making an Iron Man and got a fire cape. You know, that's probably the extent of his PVM abilities. But seeing him get better through CG is really cool to see, and I think that a lot of people like start kind of getting the hang of things PVM wise, pairing gear switching, even if it's just like one piece of gear you're switching. But uh, I don't know. I think that's definitely a good stepping stone for a lot of people.
It definitely gave me like the comfortability and the knowledge to like go in and do Vorkath and get my upgraded Avas and
Mm-hmm.
it gave me like the confidence to know that like if I can do this, I can do a lot of the stuff in the game after some learning and trial and error.
Definitely.
But it
And
made me kind of realize that PVM wasn't like this extremely high barrier to entry that I used to think it was.
yeah, it's really like for the most part not that complicated. I feel like a lot of things in the game are just really about uh I guess I want to say it's not very technically demanding. It's just learning how it works and then executing it. But the execution skill floor, I don't feel like is that high for
Mm-hmm.
most things in the game. Obviously, when you get into things like doing like I don't know, like CM speeds, and you're doing like 7-way switches, 8-way switches for then it's more of an execution barrier. But
Yes,
other than that, I feel like a
absolutely.
lot of it's just learning how it works. But yeah, kind of a side tangent there. But
No, I always good to have a tangent, keep it going a little longer.
yeah,
The at the end of the day, I've contemplated making videos on the hardcore. If I ever do, um, I won't start recording until after None and Runecrafting, and then I'll probably save up enough episodes to do like 3 or 4 episodes, and then I'll finally do it, see what the reception is. But we'll see. So if I ever do
yeah.
do that, it won't be until like mid to late 2023.
Well, that's cool though. I'm excited to see that, and I feel like that would definitely be a very like a big foundation for hardcore too to have all that out of the way. Um, I feel like my hardcore right now, I have like 42 Slayer and 52 Herb, and I'm like, all right, almost ready to raid. Like not really much of a found. I got Barrow's gloves, and like you mentioned before, like the magic logs. I felt like I was on a really good pace for like um getting Barrow's gloves out of the way on the remake hardcore Zerk here, and the only thing bottlenecking me was those magic logs because I didn't get them from Wintertop.
See what you did you do nature plings?
Yeah, I did
I
nature implings, and
I cannot be asked.
yeah, I was like, oh well, gotta get the hunter level. I don't feel like doing traditional hunter aside from birdhouses. So just like a couple days of birdhouses, and then was like, finally, I can start catching imps, and then
Yeah, I'm
I got pretty.
already 12K from 69 Hunter, and I've never done anything with birdhouse on that account.
Oh, what have you been doing instead?
Just no, that's the only thing I've ever done is birdhouses.
Okay, okay. I thought you
Same
said.
with same with Mayfield. I did birdhouses all the way to 80, and then I've only done herbivore.
Yeah, I don't mind that, to be honest. Not a big fan of low level hunter.
No,
Like
Hunter is
that.
like Hunter is better than thieving, and thieving is my probably most hated skill.
I 100% agree. That is my least favorite skill. I do not like spam clicking simulator as
No, and
like
it's one of the few skills that doesn't have like a good skill ceiling.
yeah, like blackjacking is just, it's blackjacking. Not really much you can do to
It's
and
RSI basically.
yeah, which yeah, not a huge fan. That's why, like, on this account on the Zerker here, just been doing a lot of LMS for money instead of thieving, which kind of came back to bite me because I got a bunch of grubby keys and realized that you need 56 thieving to even open them. I'm like, I don't even want to get 3 thieving levels for that.
Yeah, I've got
Uh,
57, and it's mostly from quests.
yeah, I stopped at 53. Actually, I got the Rocky Pet at 50 thieving on this account,
Oh my god.
and I was like, and it'll be, I think, the beginning of the next episode I put out, but I was doing a clue. I had a Karamja step, and I was like, oh, wait, I need like 30 GP to get the Karamja. I'm just going to pickpocket this woman real quick. And then the very first pickpocket was a rocket. I was like, no way.
The odds of that are probably so low.
Yeah, absolutely absurd odds for that to happen, but that's really funny that, like, okay, of course that happened.
YouTuber luck.
Yep. Yep. We'll take that any day of the week.
All right. Thank you, Mr. One Pog, for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a blast. I've been a little nervous about, I've never really done like an interview like this before, but it's been a lot of fun. I do appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me.
No, absolutely. Once again, I appreciate you coming on, and I hope that maybe one day you'll rejoin me. I know that I was talking with Vegan about getting a couple of the Iron Pure guys all in one call and do like a big cast instead of just like an interview style, more of like a 4 to 5 person thing.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
So yeah, I'd probably be like, obviously I'm like the lower, I'd be like a low tier, but obviously so I wouldn't talk that much, but it'd be like probably shoot for like you, him, maybe some other mods or somebody else who is pretty popular, maybe Alt Pure because I already had him on before. So
Yeah, that sounds like a really good time. I'd definitely be down for something like that. I feel like I'm not super socially active in the Iron Peer Discord. I mean, I could be more, but I definitely like a lot of the people in the Iron Peer Discord. They're some good guys.
hmm absolutely, it's been a great community to join and like kind of be like, oh, there's other people doing this, and I think if you know who like I think is pronounced Eric Wan,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I actually met him on Mayfield at the farming patch, and he was kind of the reason that I was like, oh, that's a cool account. Maybe I wanna try that myself. And but I was like, I don't want to do 2IM. That sounds awful.
I think I actually remember seeing that in the CC, that being mentioned, and yeah, he's a really cool guy. He was helping me out with sending me the deets on some crash stars, and I was like, dude, appreciate it. You're a legend. Just
hmm
yeah, super cool guy.
Got some heroes in the clan.
Uh
Got anything else you want to say or before you sign off? Of course, all of your socials will be in the description.
huh. Let me think. Off the top of my head, nothing I can think of. Obviously, good luck to you and your goals. Really enjoyed talking to you. Uh, love to come on again sometime to chat. And yeah, shout outs to playing on a restricted Ironman.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck in your goals as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.